All right, 7 o'clock. I am calling the select board to order. Being broadcast on RCTV. And gonna go over the agenda. We have public comment. We have liaison town manager reports. Appoint Carl Saccone to associate member of conservation. Public hearing on a traffic amendment. Closing the warrant. We have presentation and vote to amend Community Preservation Act Study Committee charge. Discuss and vote to allow second water meters pilot program. Sets of minutes and future agendas and executive session. So just by a show of hands, just so I can, we use a timer, who's planning to speak? How many? All right, so I'm gonna time everybody. I'm not gonna cut anybody off, but we wanna keep it, on schedule. So 2 minutes approximately. I'm not gonna cut anybody off, but if you start to ramble, then say, let's move on. All right, so public comment. I don't know if I should go by the sheet or.
Do you call me?
What?
Sorry, excuse me.
Can you mute, please?
I think she wants to speak.
Oh, public comment? Okay,
Do you call names? I wasn't sure what you did, sorry.
I'm gonna call everybody in the room first.
Fine.
Okay.
Hi folks, Yana Pidowski, 3 Harriman Avenue. So my public comments pertaining to the split meters, split water rates. We set the split water rates about a little bit over a year ago, and since then there's been quite a few individuals that came out from multi-family housing advocating that there is some form of an adjustment that is made to the way that we currently build them. No rollout is perfect, right? But there is about an 80%, there's about 20% of the population that lives in multifamily homes. So you had multiple people come up here encouraging or asking you folks to take a look and devise a solution. We've also had the town meeting pass an instructional motion last time to also encouraging you to take a look at it and figure out how to proceed. So I believe it was a month ago or 2 meetings ago, you had a discussion on this topic, and we had a discussion on the topic of split water meters. I'm going to get these two confused, the split rate and
Second water meter.
Second water meter. So you had a discussion on both those topics. That's fine. Last week or last meeting, I didn't see anything on the agenda pertaining to these two topics. That's fine. This meeting, I don't see anything pertaining to the discussion on these two topics. Again, that's fine. It seems that the discussion has been had. We're good on that end. And you're moving forward with, I'm going to surmise that this is, approval of a concept of a plan as opposed to a plan. Otherwise, you would have listed tangible, you would have listed logistics, tangible things that you would be tracking during the pilot program, the expected outcome. So I'm assuming, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you're rolling out a concept of a plan. And I think there's an opportunity here to actually couple the two. So I would encourage the board to take a moment during that time and maybe make an amendment to the motion that will be at the table in front of you to also address the split rate for multi-family homes in the same motion. Thank you.
Good timing. All right, before I let the next, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody, but the topic of the multi-family housing is on the next agenda. So I'm not ignoring it as the chair. So if no one looked at the future agendas, it is on there. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from speaking on this topic, but we're not ignoring it. I'm not ignoring it. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Zeke?
David Zeke, 8 Sanborn Street, and I'm talking on water rates. So almost a year ago, town meeting asked you to come up with a plan to address the inequities in water rates and sewer rates that apply to Reading residents in multifamily housing. town meeting members, although that was instructional motion, town meeting members are selected by the community and they merit your respect. They're respected members of this community. At that meeting, not one person spoke against the request to fix the water rates for multifamily housing. 3 members of the select board agreed that something should and would be done. Not one of you spoke against that request at the time. Yet to my knowledge, nothing whatever has been done to fix the problem or even attempt to fix the problem. You are, however, willing to toy with a proposal for the secondary water meters that would increase everyone's sewer rates, potentially totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars, but benefiting very few people. So it's hard to see how fairness for the community writ large plays into your thinking. So I just ask you to get your priorities straight and to address the water rates at least as expeditiously as you're addressing secondary water meters. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Sorry, hand over there.
John Sullivan, 8 Sanborn Street, same topic, as you know. I'm glad to hear that it's going to be on the agenda. I was very worried. I've been waiting. I know that I was at a meeting where a consultant addressed this topic in a haphazard way, saying it's not worth doing anything. He didn't say what we would do to solve it. There was no cost benefit. It was a sham, as far as I'm concerned. If that's your answer, that's a sham. But I thought I'd bring you some updates in the real world. I've got our latest postmark bill here, water bill. Now, as you know, we have a restaurant now. Restaurant is 40% of our water usage. 90% of their bill is at the highest tier. That flows down to the other 52 units, so that 85% of our bills is at the highest tier. I don't think that's what tiered billing is supposed to be doing. We have 53 units, 46 of them should be at tier 1. 46. 5 at tier 2 would get into tier 2. There's 1 who fell a little bit into tier 3. And of course, the restaurant is 90% tier 5. And as an example, and what that means is, for example, I should be in tier 1. I should be paying for water $10.75 per 100 cubic feet. I'm paying $12.41 per 100 cubic feet. Sewer should be $10.20. It's $11.19. That's what we're being charged. Those are the rates. Those are the rates we have to give our billing company to apply to everybody. Those blended rates of everyone. Even with other restaurants, they'd be high. There'd be a lot of it in tier 5. But that's the problem we have with mixed use. You'll have other buildings like that. The number of multiple family homes is only increasing in this town, far greater than single family homes. So I really look forward to seeing a good discussion and people looking for it. I know that I've talked to you before. I know Mrs. McCarthy was not in the board then, but I know in your campaign literature, you talked about this issue as something you were interested in solving. So I look forward to solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Saw a hand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Paul Silva from 12 Autumn Lane in Reading, and I'm here to support the complete elimination of the irrigation meter moratorium. It and the watering restriction are no longer necessary. They are wrong for Reading. The board used to have the responsibility over water supply when it used town wells as a water source. Now, all of our water comes from the MWRA, which does a tremendous job of water management. The last MWRA restriction was in 1989. If the MWRA sees no need to limit the water use, then why do we? In my opinion, it is because one or more members of this board and members of prior boards have wrongfully imposed their own individual biases and opinions on us. There may be water supply concerns elsewhere in the world, there are none here. An example, a member of this board wrote to me just last week on the subject of irrigation meters. If people want to use water for other purposes, it should come at a higher price. Think about that for a minute. What gives this board member the right to decide what is and what is not an appropriate use of water for me. If I pay for the water, it is my decision and no one else's to determine what is an appropriate use. Personal opinions and biases have no place in formulating governmental policy. It is the interest of town residents that should drive it. What does this wrongful exercise of board authority cost irrigation users? If just 10% of Reading's water usage is for outside purposes, then the amount they pay for sewer services they don't use is more than $900,000 this year alone, approximately $4.5 million over the last 5 years. We don't have a water shortage here, and anything we do here does nothing to reduce water shortages around the globe. If board members want to solve a world problem, they should use their own money and not mine. I looked at 22 other cities and towns that buy all of their water and all of their sewer from the MWRA. None of them have a watering restriction, and all but 6 allow irrigation meters. Why is this so? It is because their elected bodies recognize that their duty is to serve the people that elected them, not the world. This board's own code of conduct states that members shall work together to serve the interest of town residents. Makes no reference to the world. Reading clearly is an outlier from all other peer towns on both of these water policies. There are other reasons why increased use of water can actually reduce the combined rate that we charge for water and sewer, which is the highest among our peer MWRA communities. In short, it would allow us to spread the fixed cost portion of the water budget in the entire sewer budget over many more units of water. I have provided this information to every member of the board, but respect the fact that water rates are not tonight's issue. But don't be mistaken, the two issues are closely related. The changes I am proposing would reduce both the water rate and the sewer rate that we all see on our bills. To summarize, the MWRA sees no reason to restrict water use or artificially increase charge rates for irrigation to reduce demand. We shouldn't either. Reading is the only one of 23 similarly situated towns that has a water restriction. Ours should be eliminated. Lastly, this notion that we need to have a pilot program is nonsense. A pilot program that will apply to a very limited number of residents is nothing more, in my view, than a continuing ploy by this board to continue to impose personal opinions and biases on all of us. It will continue the process of double charging the vast majority of irrigation users. People who water their lawn should not be forced to buy something they don't use. At the last meeting, there was some discussion about there's a shift. We have to worry about this shift. If there was no increase in volume, that shift is something that has to be dealt with, and it would need to have an adjustment on the sewer rate. But when the rate for the water goes down, our usage is going to go up. And that usage that goes up is going to be priced to us from the MWRA at $3.73. You're going to charge me, probably at the third tier, at $12.25. So whatever that shift is, first of all, I think the whole shift will be totally recovered by the increased water usage that we have. But it certainly, I think, will make money and be able to, in the future, to be able to reduce the rates further.
Thank you, Paul, on that.
So more or less, I'm almost done. Any information that we need to implement the changes can be determined by reviewing the water volumes from 154 irrigation meters that are now in place in Reading. We should also seek information from Stoneham on how to do it. Stoneham reversed its moratorium for all residents in one single action in September 2014. They had no problems and no issues. We should be able to accomplish the same change that Stoneham did with these 10 years ago as Stoneham did without the need for a pilot program. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room?
Hi, my name is Philip Santoro. I live at 15 Autumn Lane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this water issue. I think there is something wrong with water in Reading in terms of the prices we're paying. So I checked with a couple of my friends who live in houses similar to mine. These are 2,400 square foot houses. They have, in each of them, they have 3 people living there, as I do. In Burlington, my friend paid $157 last quarter for his water. 3 months, $157. My friend in Lexington Again, same size house, same number of occupants. He paid $278 for the quarter. My house here in Reading, same size house, 3 occupants. Will it surprise you to know, again, 157 in Burlington, 278 in Lexington. My house last quarter, $1,405. You got the numbers. When I told my friends about this, they thought I was kidding until I brought my water bills with me. And I brought them here tonight in case you have any doubt about what I'm paying for water. I don't know if you'd agree with me, but as representatives of your community, of us, I hope you take these prices into consideration. I ask you whether or not you think, by a show of hands, whether $1,405 is outrageous for water, for 1 quarter. Anyone? So we need to look at what we're paying for water. We shouldn't be paying this kind of money. I'm paying $4,000 a year for water. I had a plumber come to the house to check for leaks. There are no leaks. When I talked to someone here in the clerk's department about the bill, the response I got was, that's not outrageous, that's about what we all pay. I'm betting none of you pays $1,400 a quarter for water. So I just urge you to please look carefully at the water rates that we're paying and just investigate whether or not it's fair. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room?
I'll trade, Bill.
Want to trade?
So,
He's coming up. I didn't see him.
I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
So this is not about the water. It's about the roads in this town. I bike. I only bike.
Oh, could you state your name and address,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry. My name is Joseph White. I live at 65 Prescott Street in Reading.
Thank you.
I bike. I only bike. I know other people who bike who tell me the same damn thing. The roads in this town are full of potholes and patches. I have pictures here of 2 locations where the potholes are serious and, in fact, caused me to have an accident. Basic services are not being taken care of, and I'm really kind of annoyed about it because that puts me at risk of having a serious accident. And I'm not one who really, I don't ride fast, I don't ride dangerously, but when there's potholes that are shallow, they tend to be more dangerous than the deeper ones. And they don't look like potholes, so you wind up riding over them and you wind up off the road. The potholes are not being fixed. Prescott Street, where I live, is full of patches. It is, I don't even know if it's going to be fixed anytime soon, but nobody likes driving or riding on it. And that's a basic service for this town. I don't know why it's not being taken care of. So I can enter these into whatever record you wish, but that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. Do you have the names of the streets on the back?
I can put them there. They're Charles Street and Prescott Street.
If you could do that, you can leave it with us, that'd be great. Thank you. Sorry.
Hi there. My name is John Gottwald. I live on 25 Autumn Lane in Reading. And my first message in coming up here is a little bit contrary. I'd like to thank you all for the great work you do in support of our town, making our town a better place, dedicating your time in evenings like tonight. And I'm sure that you're continuously striving to better everything in the town. And I know that's not an easy task to do, and but it's a great thing you do. to with that. But I did also want to say that I can beat Phil out on my water bill. So Phil, I'll take your bill if you take mine. My bill is about $1,560 this quarter. Now, that was quite a shocker to me, and I'm one of those people that have the two meters, one from 30 years ago and the original in the house. And I was kind of shocked with the latest bill that I've received as well. So I think that there is something that's at issue here, and I was also going to do the same thing Phil did apparently, and that is to have somebody check to see if I had a leak or whatever. But I do water my lawn. I mean, I will say to you that, and I'm sure that Paul and Phil who live in the same street will tell you the same thing. I water my lawn, right? And that second meter is the culprit in terms of the magnitude of the pricing for this quarter bill. But having said that, I think I 100% support what's been said here today in terms of the water bill is being an issue, and the opportunity for a second water meter in recognition of what has been said so far would be a great thing. I would think to separate out discreetly charges that are going in one place that don't have any merit, right? With the surge against the lawn, the irrigation bills, and I would also say that I support. I saw the note that Paul has sent to all of you, and I outlined in the 4 different categories of water issues. And I 100% support what he stated in his message. He's become really quite an expert in understanding where we are with the water issues in the town, and I applaud him for that effort, and would hope that what I'm most keen on tonight is really listening. I want to listen to what your feedback is and what you've been able to deliberate on your own and collaborate here together to come up with what you think is the right thing to help us move forward as a town. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Seeing none. Caitlin, how many on Zoom?
Just one on Zoom.
Okay.
Linda.
Thank you. How are you all?
Good.
How are you?
Good, and thank you too. I was gonna thank you as well, because I know it's a thankless job, so you should get some thanks. Are you hearing me all right?
Yeah, if you could have your name and address, please.
Yeah, it's Linda Wilkes. I'm at 68 Redgate Lane.
Thank you.
Okay. Water issue as well. I'm advocating for the implementation of second meters for irrigation, outside use. I water my lawn too. I just moved in a couple of years ago, spent $1 gajillion on plantings, made the place look great, up the value of everybody's property in my neighborhood. But I can't not water my plants. I'm happy to pay for the water I use and whatever rates you set. I assume MWRA helps you do that. Don't mind about that. I don't want to pay for sewer that I'm not using. So a simple solution is to have water meters for people that want to use outside water, that don't want to pay for sewer. I don't like paying for nothing. And I'm happy to work on a committee or with people, or with the select board, if you need somebody to kind of, I don't know, do whatever work you need to try to find out if there's interest, if people want to do this or whatever. Happy to do that. But it is hard to get charged for something that you don't use. My water bill, again, I understand water costs money and that's fine, but the same period last year, my water bill was $170, and that was with the new plantings. My bill this time for the same period was $825. The water usage was 1,068 whatever's units, I don't know. And the one that was a little higher was 112 units. So I'm not sure where all that, where the money, where the charges came from. So I guess I'd like to look at that also, but basically a second water meter for outside use is a no-brainer. Every town around has them. Stoneham has them, Burlington has them, Newton, Bill Ricca. I just went online and looked. So I couldn't find a list of all the towns and cities that use that, but I did make a number of calls. I spoke with Christopher, is it Haley? Yeah, about this issue, and he was very helpful, so thank you, Chris. Again, happy to help, happy to do work, but something needs to be done with both the water rates, looking at why they're so high all of a sudden, and getting rid of sewer charges for people that aren't using the sewer by using a second water meter. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, Caitlin, I think you said that was the only one on Zoom?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. So liaison reports, Melissa?
Sure. I attended the CPDC meeting on Monday, September 16th, or a good portion of it. I just want to thank everyone that has spent all the time putting those two options together. CPDC, Andrew, town staff, just want to thank everyone. I also want to encourage residents to reach out to their town meeting members on their thoughts on the concepts, because it will be town meeting members that are voting on the concepts. So I think it's really important for town meeting members to hear from the residents of this town. School committee meeting last night, school committee actually returned $80,000 to free cash. They also added $200,000 to the special education reserve fund. They are recruiting for both a director of finance and a MEDCO director. And lastly, the school committee is co-sponsoring a viewing of The Right to Read on October 15th at the PAC, and there'll be a panel discussion following the review on the topic of adolescent reading. That's October 15th at 6 p.m. at the PAC. That's it.
Thank you. Mark?
Thanks, Carlo. So I too joined the CPDC meeting, which it was very good, a good chance to kind of hear what's going on. I think town staff has done an amazing job of bringing things together, finding ways to get us in compliance, and to show kind of what options we may have to accomplish our goals as well as what is being required by MBTA communities. Also attended the Financial Forum last week, which also was a chance to kind of hear where we are as a town. Hear that the operating budget is very tight, and we have some new challenges that we're facing from that, and to have more discussion about kind of where things headed. Finance Committee will come forward with some guidance, obviously, going forward from there. Third meeting was the Permanent Building Committee, met last week. Our mission was to find an owner's project manager for the Reading Center for Active Living. There were interviews that were held. We narrowed down to our top candidates. There are negotiations going on or completed.
Almost completed.
Almost completed.
But we have been talking, so.
Awesome. Okay, so hopefully there'll be an OPM coming on board very quickly, get that company up to speed, and then Recal kind of went on break over summer as a result of not having, Recal finished and sunset, but the Recal project went on break a little bit, pending getting the owner's project manager in place. So once that company is in place, we should be able to get that rolling again and hopefully get onto the timeline for sharing more detailed information with the community late in the year, having a lot of meetings and discussions, and being ready to get to town meeting in April. And that's it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Carlo. The Charter Review Committee had our follow-up meeting last night from the last forum that we had. And we went over the various public feedback that we got from that. Ivrea was there as well to go over all our legal questions, mainly centering around RMLD and Chapter 164 and whatever avenue that they're looking to go, as opposed to how we currently are. So that's going to get hashed out between her legal memo. They already gave us that. We already received RMLD's memo that they have, and then we have to come up with a decision of what is final. It's a policy decision, just like everything else, for the most part, is policy decisions. So that's pretty much it. Our next meeting is October 23rd for that. But for the most part, we're just winding down, and it's not obviously on this town warrant, so it would be April is when we'd be good to end up doing a report, et cetera, and then presenting it. Some stuff might have to go to the state for review, some stuff might have to go to the ballot, some might go through our state delegation, et cetera. Everybody's going to give us a rundown in a document at the end when we're all final. And then the other thing, I just want to commend the RPD for the incident that happened last night that some people might have gotten woken up from. I sleep without my ringers off, so I didn't get it. But I will say that in the 4 years that I've been paying attention to things, this, I think, is one of the only incidents that warranted a reverse 911 call in Reading. All the other handful of ones with street closures, et cetera, I don't think were warranted. They still happened. It is what it is. But they made the right move by doing what they did last night and alerting the residents of the area, because you never know what could have happened. And if it's a couple minutes inconvenience to your sleep pattern, it's unfortunate. I have kids. It's my life every day for the most part. So they're great, though. And that's that.
Thank you. Yes, I echo Chris's comments on Reading Police. I believe other towns responded as well to help out. For me, I was away a little bit, but I did attend the second night of the public hearing for CPDC as a resident, and made some comments and listened. And Andrew's staff and CPDC have done a tremendous amount of work on this, and we're getting to the finish line. So I commend them on that. And that's all I have. So next we have, yes, Matt.
Yeah, just a few things. It's going to be a busy October. So the 6th Annual Arts and Cultural Festival will take place on October 5th, right out on the Common. Thanks to Arts Reading for putting that on again this year. On that same day, the fire department is having its open house. That'll be at 10 a.m. at the fire department. That's always a great event. Bring the kids. There's plenty for kids to do. Get to touch the fire trucks and hang out with the firefighters for the day. So that's a great event. Also coming up on October 1st, we've had some publicity about this. The Millette-Soames Morgan Conservation Land is finally open to the public. We're going to have a ribbon cutting there with several officials. That's at 3:45, and the public is welcome. Parking is at Austin Prep that day because parking is at a premium in that area. And also on the same day, on October 1st, from 10 a.m. to 11:30, Chief Clark and I will be at the last corner for a coffee with a cop. So please drop by and say hello. I'm really looking forward to doing that this year. And I also wanted to thank the Reading Police and the EMTs who responded to the incident, the situation last night. Your responsiveness and dedication do not go unnoticed by the Select Board and the Town Manager, so I'd like to say that. Just a couple quick personnel updates that I like to give every meeting. We do have a new health inspector that started this week. Her name's Amelia, so we are fully staffed in the health department. We also have a new person in operations as an executive assistant. His name is Joshua. He came to us from Texas to work here in Reading, believe it or not, so long distance, but we're happy to have him. And I wanted to mention we also promoted Officer Cody Costa to the position of sergeant last week. Congratulations to him and his family. And we are now almost fully staffed in every department. I think we're still looking for an entry-level engineer, if anybody knows a civil engineer. Other than that, thanks to the department heads and the HR department for their persistence in getting top employees. So that's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have appoint Carl Sacconi to an associate position on the Conservation Commission with a term expiring June 30th, 2026. Is Carl in the room? No? Okay. Chris, why don't we do a motion first and then see the discussion?
Yep. Move to appoint Carl Sacconi to an associate position on the Conservation Commission with the term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? This is just a formality, and thank you, Carl, for contributing to the Conservation Commission. All right, all those in favor? 4-0, thank you. All right, next we have a hearing, and I see Lieutenant is here. traffic amendment, that's in our packet.
So we've got to read the hearing notice.
Oh, yeah, good.
To the inhabitants of the town of Reading, please take notice that the Select Board of the town of Reading will hold a public hearing on September 24th at 7 PM in the Select Board Meeting Room at Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass, or available remotely on Zoom to act on the following proposed amendments to the traffic and parking regulations. Amendment number 2024-07, improve traffic and pedestrian safety at the intersection of Emerson Street and Dividends Road with an official placement of an isolated stop sign heading northbound on Emerson Street at the intersection with Dividends Road. The copy of the proposed document regarding this topic will be in the Select Board packet on the website at www.readingma.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing in person or remotely via Zoom, or may submit their comments in writing to townmanager@ci.reading.ma.us by order of Matthew A. Cornelis, Town Manager.
Thank you, Chris.
Good evening. So this is another traffic amendment that came in as a complaint to through C-Click Fix, went to PTTTF. Basically, the end of Emerson at Dividends gets busy, especially at school times. There's kind of a back area where people will pick up kids. And Dividends is a throughway there, even though at the end at Emerson, some people get confused. Kind of think that they could just kind of blow through that intersection. So we just think that putting a stop sign there makes it more visible to stop before going through. We get some complaints of near collisions there. So again, you're supposed to stop there at the end of Emerson anyway. So all this is putting an official stop sign in to make it more visible.
Has there been any recent incidences, or is it near?
Yeah, we had a couple complaints in recently, both about the parking for the school and then two for the intersection, for people not stopping and almost causing crashes.
I've actually driven up there, and when cars park there, if someone is coming from the dead end side and someone's coming up Emerson to take the right, they can't see because of the cars parked on the left, so it would be better. And if they just go, the other car coming the other way is not gonna see them.
Right. So it kind of makes up a blind spot. So putting the stop sign there just kind of reinforces that you're supposed to stop here anyway. So
Yeah, to look, left and right, yes. Any other?
Thanks, first of all, for putting some pictures in. Really appreciate that. Makes it so much easier. It comes to life. It also brought up the question for me, looking at the placement, is that far enough forward that you can see down Dividends on your left shoulder? Or are you gonna stop there and then you actually have to roll forward a little bit?
No, that's just mine.
No, I
That's
just
my
thought I'd
approval. So it'll be at the appropriate place according to the MUTCD. It has to be within so many feet of the actual intersection. So the stop sign will be at the actual place, not just my terrible photoshopping.
I appreciate having you here. Thank you. I just want to make sure. Thank you. I'm good.
Thanks, Carlo. I guess if Caitlin can just put up the pictures online real quick so everybody can see them, because I know we have them, just so the public can see. But I also agree that having these pictures is the entire point. So it makes it night and day.
Once we give the approval, just while she's pulling that up, oh, it's there. How long does it take to install this? A week, 2 weeks?
Usually, probably within a couple of days, depending on if all the supplies are at the DPW at the time. Put in the work order, and then depending on how busy they are and if they already have it in stock.
All right.
It's great. Anything for more safety, it's an extra 5-10 seconds. So, thanks.
Close the public hearing?
Yep.
Unless you wanna
see.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mr. Arena. Could you get up to the podium, please?
Sure. Thank you. John Arena, 26 Francis, Town Meeting, CPDC, former board member. Line of sight on the left coming in from Emerson, is that a concern? You see the agriculture obscures the view.
We can have the DPW check.
Is that the plan of record or no? That's just a check, you wouldn't touch it?
No, so in cases where it's either a town tree, the DPW can just go by and trim it. If it's a personal tree, they'll check with the resident first, and see if they want to do it or if they'll agree to us doing it.
And Dividends has the right of way. Emerson is the intersecting road.
Correct, that's why the stop is on, beyond this.
There's no need there for 2 or 3-way on this intersection.
No, we talked about that because that end of Dividends is a dead end. I think there's only 2 or 3 houses on it anyways.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I guess I would just add, these are Google images, they're not actual photos you took, so they could be a year or 2 old.
And I think they are because there's a new house there. I don't think that tree's even there anymore.
Good point. Comes in handy, I guess. Anyone else in the room? Anyone on Zoom, Caitlin?
Nope.
All right.
Yep, move to close the hearing regarding Safety Amendment 2024-07.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor? Closing the public hearing, thank you. 4-0.
And then move to approve Amendment 2024-07 of the traffic and parking regulations as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor? 4-0, thank you. And thank you.
And, do you guys want these photos? Did you mind if I ask him if I can take them? Because since we have PTTF tomorrow anyways.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, we're gonna end up there anyway.
This is,
Basically 2 locations.
Yeah, all right, good, thank you.
While we're getting this done, next item on the agenda is to close the town meeting warrant. Is Karen available?
Well, first of all, I don't think we can technically do it until 8 o'clock
Oh, running
because
early?
the bylaw says 8 o'clock.
All right, we can go next.
So maybe if you could take at least the presentation.
These 2 streets don't.
Yeah.
And vote on the next agenda item first.
Joe, are you doing that? All right.
That would be great.
Caitlin, yeah, thanks. So we're gonna take some things out of
Take it
order.
out of order, yeah.
Do the timing. Caitlin, if you can get that up on the screen, please.
Caitlin, I was on the Zoom on my phone earlier and I didn't see anyone else from the CPA study committee, so I'm assuming we don't need to call to order, but please let me know if a bunch of people just joined.
Nope, no one else still.
Awesome, all right, thank you. So, hello everyone, Joe Carnahan. I'm here as the, representing the Ad Hoc Community Preservation Act Study Committee, which I can almost get out in one breath.
Just for 1 sec, Joe, what's your quorum? How many?
4.
4.
Okay, good. Martha's behind you, right?
Give it to
Okay.
her.
Yep, thanks.
That's, yeah, no, we're not, we're not.
Only 2.
Yes.
3.
3.
Oh. 3.
You're supposed to be here. But yes, we're still, with no one on the Zoom, we don't have quorum, so. All right, so I will not call that committee to order, but I'm here to talk about that committee, which you all organized earlier this year with representatives from the select board. Again, I'm really sorry about that. Finance Committee, Conservation, Recreation, Historical, and Housing. The Community Preservation Act, I'm not going to review that because you all have been present on it before, but since it does provide the town a way to raise money for open space preservation, historical preservation, and affordable housing creation and preservation. So we did not actually get together. We were until May is when we were first convened. We have been meeting, we met every 2 weeks for the first couple months there, kind of blistering pace. Because our initial charge was to try to figure out if we could consider the CPA at the this upcoming November election. Spoiler alert, we can't. But we sort of broke down these questions that we're trying to consider, and these have been like standing agenda items for us. Understanding benefits of the CPA, how do we decide what to recommend? The CPA has a lot of flexibility in terms of what the surcharge rate is and what the exemptions are. And then there are several ways it could be put to a vote, so we'll talk about that as well. Next slide, please. So, we gathered some information about, things that could be funded. It's all very informal at this point, though. Put together some estimates for how much revenue would be raised based on data from Victor, the town assessor, based on last available year, probably FY24 property values, how much the state match would be given that amount of revenue collected, and how much that would cost the taxpayers, median, high and low percentiles, things like that. We met with the Community Preservation Coalition, which is an organization that helps communities. They actually spend most of their time helping communities that have already adopted CPA, like sort of work on their process for how they approve projects or consider projects. But they also help communities like ours that are considering whether we should adopt it. We did look at our peer communities. It's interesting, actually, of our 23 peer communities, using the Finance Committee's definition of peer communities, 11 have adopted CPA and 1 is considering it in November. So that's as close to 50-50 as you could possibly get. We talked a lot about the process. Ultimately, it's up to the voters. You can get on the ballot either of the two ways that things normally get on the ballot. Town meeting can put something on the ballot, or you can have a petition of residents. Typically, there are ballot question committees. Maybe the process not unlike the one for an override, which is probably the most recent ballot question we've had committees for here in Reading. Interestingly, it must be considered at a regularly scheduled election. So that means that if you are having a special election for something else, you can't consider this at the same time, nor can you consider this in a special election by itself. This is relevant because we will probably have a special election in 2025 for a debt exclusion for Killam. And but apparently the law that creates the CPA does not permit us to bundle this election with that one. So our options are April 2025, April 2026, November 2026. There is no November 2025 election, interestingly. And then, yes, another interesting thing is sort of the recommendation is to favor higher turnout elections, as those are ones where it's more likely to be approved. The more people vote, the more people approve it. Interesting fact in itself. But that means since we have missed the deadline for the November 2024 election, the next state election, which has the higher turnout than local, would not be until November 2026. Next slide, please. So yes, there was a deadline at the beginning of September. If we were to actually submit a ballot question to the town clerk, there was not a chance of that. The committee would really like to research these questions, give you all the most, authoritative and correct information we possibly can. We look at possible projects in more detail. So we try to make this concrete. What would be actually, obviously residents would be paying for something. What would they be paying for? Can we be specific about that? And then Reading did consider the CPA once over 20 years ago. We'd like to learn more about that. We connected with someone from the previous CPA study committee over 20 years ago. So we'll look forward to learn from that. And then obviously we haven't had time to present anything to you before now. We did vote in July to support adopting the CPA in abstract, but not in November 2024. The committee has not made a recommendation of when it should be considered. For what it's worth, the Community Preservation Coalition representative was strongly recommending November 2026. Next slide, please. So if we're going to consider this at a future election, if this CPA study committee is to do the research necessary in order to consider CPA at a future election, we need to amend our charge, which was originally structured for this November election and to sunset at the end of the year. So there's one tiny wording change I'll call out. We don't presume there's a need for the CPA, so we prefer to talk about studying the merits of. And then the rest of it is just updating it to refer to the, as kind of a latest time we would do this would be the April 2026 annual town meeting. I actually did say April because at the time I was drafting this, you all were considering moving the election, which might move town meeting. You still might in the next year or two. So this should be robust against that. And then, yes, aims for a sunset actually just in May, so the falls after town meeting. Because this committee does not need to continue to exist after town meeting, after it's gotten on the ballot. This committee is not a ballot question committee, it's a town committee. That can get confusing for some people, but so we do not need to be around for the actual election. And then, yeah, the last slide is just with those changes applied, so you can see what it is that we're requesting. And I would be happy to answer any questions you all have about the committee or the proposed changes or anything else.
Thanks. Anyone? Mark?
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Joe. Just thinking about dates for a minute too. So I hear the CPA group saying, hey, you'll have more people at a focused election that has either state or federal going on. I get it. On the other hand, that kind of rolls things out 2 years. And then if it were to roll out 2 years, do you folks feel that you would move forward now in preparation for something that's in 2026? I'm trying to put together all the timing pieces here.
So I think the way this would work, we would certainly not continue at the meeting pace that we were doing when we were racing for November. This hasn't been discussed in the committee, but monthly might be a reasonable pace for us to try to cover each of these topics that we want to cover, allowing for the fact that we might not meet during the summer or something like that. So the idea is to do this, a marathon, not a sprint, and pace ourselves and take the time to produce, hopefully a nice informative report that answers all your questions.
So the proposal would be to work on a pretty regular meeting schedule, move it along. It may not take you until 2026 to have the feedback.
Correct, and I will definitely not, if I have anything to do with it, we will not meet more than we need to. I have enough meetings, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, so if the notion is to kind of, continue having meetings at a more
measured pace.
Thank you, measured pace. And then bring it forward, and then maybe part of that discussion does come back to say, hey, 2026 is the right time, or maybe sooner is the right time. But
yes,
my concern would be that given a long period of time to work on it, there might be a tendency to kind of let it slide. And I just want to make sure that committee is feeling like, hey, this makes sense, we can work on it regularly. We'll certainly, work on it to meet that deadline, but we might be even sooner than that.
So I think I can speak with authority on this because I'm the chair and I can just call meetings. And my intention is to keep calling meetings at least monthly, so as to not let this fall off of our radar.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Carlo, and thank you, Joe, for that. I was on board with this back in the day, even though that I really wasn't, but it wasn't in my opinion that I should be voting against the formation of this being explored back then. And my philosophy really didn't change between then and a week ago. It still should be, up to the voters, et cetera. And then, as you heard the other night by Sharon that you just mentioned, the override in 2027, potentially thinking about it going forward. I can't, in good conscience, even attempt to start putting something into CPA like this, knowing that an override is coming sooner rather than later with that as well. I know all the good that the CPA would have done if it was a decade ago. Believe me, I understand all that. As I've said 10,000 times, I can afford whatever. If CPA got passed, I'm good with it. But it isn't about me. So I appreciate the time that you've put into this, et cetera. But hearing that the other night should have been a rude awakening for all of us. Because none of us should be sitting up here in 2027 when an override happens, because everyone is going to ask, what did you guys do? How did you allow this to happen? Because no one's going to be happy with it. And if we have priorities like Killam in the senior center, that absolutely should take precedent. If a domino has to fall, this is the domino. I mean, you gotta pick one. You can't just keep chugging along at the pace that we've been doing. So, that's just my opinion. I thank you for your time on the committee as well as everyone else that's put their time into this. And if it continues, it continues.
Thanks, Carl. I guess I don't agree with that in a lot of ways. The issue of the town's operating budget is the issue of the town's operating budget. And when we finance activities, operations, schools, et cetera, that are growing at a rate courtesy largely of wages faster than the roughly 3% that we're going to get from Prop 2.5 plus new growth, there's a mismatch in the operating budget. And when we do overrides, we understand that they happen, we work as long as we can before we need another one, and then we got to come back to the voters with another one. And either the voters will approve it and we move ahead on that pace, or we make cuts. Those are kind of the two options. Separate from that, however, is a capital budget and capital activities. And CPA is all about capital activities and doing the things that we as a community are kind of already doing. The difference is that CPA offers potentially whatever the rate's going to be, but let's just call it 20%, I guess is what it's
Can
been
I
the
just
last
pause
few
for 1
years.
second?
Yep, so I need to call the CPA study committee in order because we now have quorum. Caitlin, no one's joined on Zoom, correct? Might as well check.
Correct.
All right, okay. Then,
You're all in person.
Thanks.
yeah, so we're all in person. I need
Okay,
to do
sorry,
a roll
let
call.
me rewind up a little bit. So this is about a capital budget in terms of what's going on. In municipalities, businesses, homes, you operate on two different kinds of budgets. There's the operating stuff that you got to do to keep the household going or the town going, and there's capital kinds of things. The CPA, as I think we will learn as we've been told, offers a strong return. So basically, it's getting a bank account with a 20% return if they continue with the 20% rate. I think it's really important that the residents of the community understand what it is and have a chance to vote on that, realizing again that many of the projects the town does already anyway. The difference is that here we can get a 20% or whatever it is going to be extra for working with CPA. To me, that's something that I want to understand better. I want to see what it means. I want to make sure that if we can get it, we're going to get it. The kinds of projects we're talking about, and again, I don't want to short circuit the committee and the work that you're doing, but a lot of it relates to the kinds of activities that we're currently supporting. The Birch Meadow projects, all sorts of other recreation activities, housing activities. There are a lot of things in there that we could be supporting at a higher rate, basically by getting back some of the real estate tax that's coming out of homeowners that move into the town of Reading. I would love to see that come here. So I feel it's critical that we understand it, explain it, and get it there. I also hear you that you can't do everything all at the same time. But I think that the community deserves to kind of hear what it is, and they're going to make their decisions. I too agree with you that the two most important projects for this community going forward are going to be the Center for Active Living and the Killam School, the next two projects. Absolutely, completely agree. This, some people may view as, well, heck, this supports other things, I still want to do it, or they may view it differently. And that's fine. I just want that information to be there so people can decide. Thanks.
Can I ask a follow-up? So where did the 20% number come from? Because I would be careful to throw it out if 20% isn't the 20% number, because I've never even heard a definitive number on the CPA return. And I know it's based off whatever percentage that we choose, et cetera, and you only get a higher percent if you go towards the max of 3% or whatever it is. So I'd just be careful about mentioning a 20% return that might not actually be. It might, but I don't know if Joe knows if.
I can comment on this. So the one of the more confusing aspects of the CPA is the formula they use for how much they add on to because the town raises money, the surcharge, and then the state adds money to that. And so how much money the state adds is what we're talking about here. So there is a fund that is funded every year by a fee on every transaction, I think, at the Registry of Deeds. It's not by the size of the transactions, it's a flat fee per transaction. So it's basically just what is the rate of things property turning over. When interest rates were low a couple years ago, the reimbursement rate was something like 32%. It was over 30% because there was a lot of real estate activity. Interest rates were way up. The real estate market froze. I think the reimbursement rate last year was something like 14%. Those were probably two extremes. I'm expecting things to bounce around within those two extremes. 20% is on the lower end of that range, but I don't want to overpromise, so I think that's why it's not a crazy number to talk about.
And I would just mention, it's probably the higher percentage if we went with 3%.
Okay.
I'm
sorry, I'll let you finish that. So that is, Chris is alluding to the fact that the formula is even more complicated than I just said. There are 3 rounds of funding. The first round, so what it is there's that fund that's with the deed transaction fees. They take 80% of that and they split it among all the CPA communities in proportion to how much money that each CPA community raised. And then the other 20% is distributed to communities that have applied the maximum surcharge of 3% based on a formula that takes into account financial need. We have the good news and the bad news is that we would not get anything from that. We are in something like the second highest tier in terms of for the purposes of the process they use for affluence. So there is, and the committee hasn't made any recommendations about percentages, but I can tell you that when I was putting together the revenue estimates, I didn't bother looking above 1.5%. The vast majority, it's interesting, among our peer communities, the only ones that adopted 3% were the ones that adopted right away when the CPA was first passed. And then it has tapered over time. I think the most recent one actually approved it at 0.5%. Winchester, I think, is considering it at 1%. But yes, so speaking for myself, because the committee hasn't made any recommendations on this, I do not foresee any numbers above 1% being considered.
I want to be cognizant of time because Karen is joining us. I just want to be mindful.
Oh,
Yeah, Karen's joining us so we can close the warrant. I just want to make a last comment that I think the committee did a lot of great groundwork in setting us up to do the finite stuff, the percentage, the exemptions, and everything else. So I'm not going to say if monthly is too much or not enough, but given how much runway we have, we'll figure that out, I'm sure, pretty quickly. But I think the committee is doing its job of gathering information and just going to present it to us and then to the town. So I agree with both of you on what you've said, and that's why I wanted to be on the committee, and I think it's going well, and we've got a lot of good input, and Chase was very helpful, and I think as we go forward, but we'll see what happens and how many of the communities join, because the more communities join, the more money that goes into the, well, actually, it kind of goes against us, but I'll take that back. All right, thank you, Joe.
Let's have a motion.
Oh, yeah, for the charge, yes.
Yes. Unless Karen wants.
Karen, do you have any comment on the CPA charge?
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. Yep.
You do. Move to,
Okay. No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
move to amend the charge for the Community Preservation Act Study Committee as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Karen, I'm just not gonna, I know you're here, but if you ever want to chime in, just chime in. Any discussion? Seeing none? Okay, all those in favor?
It's a roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call now, thank you. I'll start with you, Karen.
Yes.
Thank you. Chris?
No.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Carlo, yes. All right, thank you.
I'd like to adjourn the CPA study committee.
Yeah.
So just adjourning the CPA study committee. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. All right, so now, Thank you. So now we are on to the warrant, which is in our packet. And if memory serves me correctly, we can do this two different ways. We can close the warrant as a whole, or we can do it article by article. So, and, you know, that's what we've done in the past. So I'll just open it up to get a consensus. Okay, yeah, Melissa?
My only question is do we have to do it article by article? Because I believe you and Chris can't vote on some of these articles.
Any article that we can't partake in, we will recuse ourselves.
I know. So
Individual articles.
So that's my thing, my question is should we do it article by article so that,
Oh, right, so,
because you
Right.
guys can't vote on some of them?
Right, correct.
So I think
So-
it makes sense to go article by
yeah,
article.
just to let people know that, I'm not gonna speak for Chris, but because of a conflict I don't agree with, that I have, because of where I live, I cannot, comment or partake in the MBTA Communities article, nor can I officially close the warrant. So Karen has been nice enough to join us from overseas to help us close the warrant. So that'll be the last thing we do is close the warrant. So if we're going to go to article by article, yes, I whatever number it is, I cannot partake in that. I can partake in the other ones. And then at the very end, we have a motion to approve town meeting warrant. Then, I'm speaking for myself, I will recuse myself again, because I've been informed by state ethics that I cannot contribute or partake in that. So that's what I plan to do in either case. If it's, you know, I know at the end I can't, and that's why we asked Karen to join us, and she was nice enough to do that, because without Karen, we would have been stuck. Just four of us and only two of us not being able to close the warrant. So that's why Karen is on the phone and she is away, and that's very nice of her to join us. So I'll take a pulse, I guess, how we want to do it.
You want to just take 1 through 15 as a group?
As a group?
And then do 16 and 17 separately?
I have to skip
Oh, sorry.
7, I think.
7?
No, 9. It's 9.
Stephen Street.
Yes.
In that case, I might suggest, why don't we just do them one at a time, and that way it's clear.
Yeah, I think that's safer. Just
Like your idea.
that's safer. All
I
right.
didn't know the numbers.
So we have to do these are all
So you-
motions.
Yeah, I guess, so you would do it one at a time, but then there would be one vote at the end to close the
Yes,
warrant?
yes.
You and Chris will not participate in.
I'm only speaking for myself. Yes, I can't.
Yeah, so, yeah, you could do it by motion, one by one, if you wanted to vote on each article. We haven't done it that way in the past, but given the situation, I think that's fine to do. As long as we vote on, closing the entire.
Yeah, that's why we're
Okay,
here.
sure.
That's why we're here.
Yep, so whichever way you want. I do have, Sharon is on as well, in case there's any questions on the financial articles that are here.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna need individual motions for each article, Chris. Lucky for you.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, you didn't write them up that way, but it could be just a simple
Well,
motion.
Oh,
no,
sorry, hold on a second.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think we need motions on those. It's just taking a pulse of how we would vote on things, because no matter what, you close the warrant, it is what it is. So we did that like 2 years ago, where we gave our feedback on various topics, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we did.
But it's not binding, but
Right.
yes, it would go that the select board voted XYZ for this, for amending the capital program
Yeah, I
FY
guess it wouldn't be a
25.
motion, right, that wouldn't be a motion, no, because we're not, nothing's changing. It's just our feedback on each article, our comments, in support or not in support.
That's putting it
what-
on the warrant.
Right, I'm putting it on the warrant, it's going on the warrant, but I think the support part is on the ones that are attached to us. That's what we did last time, yeah.
So did we end up kind of going through and saying, okay, is there any discussion, Article 1? No. Is there any?
Yeah, I think we can, I think
No,
we can
like
do that.
I think what we did previously is what Mark had said. We would do what, before it was easy because it was a whole block that we'd pull out 1 to 8 and we, vote on this. It was unanimous, and then there's the other hot button items that we felt that we had to give our opinion on, et cetera. But then we all would close the warranty meeting.
I think to be uniform, let's just go through them all real quick. I think just to be any issues with, I'll let you take the lead, I guess.
I can introduce.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Karen?
yeah,
I apologize, because you have one member on one, we have to do a roll call for every single vote. So if there's any way we can put a motion that says, a motion for Argos, enter numbers, and we get that done once, that might make it more expedient for us.
You could do 1 to 8, and then 10 through 15.
And then stop it on the other three.
okay. Karen, did you hear that, okay? We're gonna do 1 through 8.
I heard 1 through 8 and 10 through 15. Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, and then the last two, which are the MBTA ones, we will step out of the room.
And Chris has a conflict on 9.
Yeah, that's why we're doing, yeah.
That might work.
Right. Okay. So, I guess, we'll do a motion on the fly or?
They were given a presentation of what were you doing?
Yeah, so what I've done before is I just introduced the article, tell you a little bit, some of them are self-explanatory.
Yeah, right.
And you can take it from there. So I can
Okay.
just start going through it if
Yeah.
you want to do that. So
All right, thank you.
Okay, so there are 17 articles, as you can see. You have all the materials before you. Article 1 is reports. That's the pro forma, done every town meeting. Article 2 is instructions. We usually defer that to the last night, and I believe we'll do that again this time. Article 3 is amending the capital improvement program. Sharon is on. Sharon, we'll have a few things to amend on Article 3, is that correct? She can hear me. Oh, she's on.
Sharon, you there?
Sharon?
Sorry, I couldn't get my mouse to be unmuted. I have multiple screens on over at the retirement today.
Sorry,
Yeah, we have.
Article 3?
Amendment on Article 3, just moving things around. We had, in fiscal 25, we had something planned for facilities. I must say it was some sort of a backhoe, and they were able to purchase it in fiscal 24, but it was planned for fiscal 25 with some excess they had. And so we have taking that off the capital plan and putting other things in. There's normally that change that we try and move things around as we update pricing. Sometimes we have to move things out or things in because of priorities or the condition of the asset sometimes dictates when we have to do it. And so those are normal kind of routine changes. But I do know that in fiscal 25, we have a couple of things that just net down to zero. I think it was like an $85,000 asset that was planned for fiscal 25 that facilities was able to purchase in fiscal 24, freeing up a little bit of space to bring in a couple of items that are needed. So there's like a net zero impact there.
Okay.
Right.
Article 4 is amending the FY 25 budget, and I think we will have a few amendments there. Any more you want to add on that one, Sharon?
We're still kind of compiling it, but it's, kind of your more routine things that we end up having to adjust. For instance, we look at what kind of details that are put together for the report.
Okay.
The regional school, I need to add $10,000 for that, related to, because obviously that's done by enrollment, but also we have the capital charge for the building that they're building. So there's a need for an additional $10,000 there. FinCom had approved some $135,000 for the DPW trucks, but we had some issues. They were from prior years where we had ordered a truck and thought the truck was going to be, delivered at that price point, and then there was a fire at one of the manufacturers, and they canceled 4 orders, so we ended up having to cancel the PO and reissue with another manufacturer, and the price was different. So we're replenishing FinCom. We also have compost collection at the schools, a request to roll out a program across all the schools. They had one school that was doing black earth composting and it was very successful. An ask for $50,000 there. So just some typical things that we typically ask for, trying to take savings from other places. There was also an ask in my department, since we took on the budget a couple of years ago. I've been, delegating, class training, and doing everything I can to maximize the staff that I have. And we have been using a temporary person to help fill the void a little bit. And it seems like it's more of a permanent need, and so we are moving money around, savings, retirement savings from other departments to try and fund this position on a permanent basis. There's a net zero there because the savings are coming from other departments. And when I requested that from other departments, like we have a retirement savings, and the new hire was much cheaper than the person who retired, that sort of thing. People were willing to help out with the finance of all the departments, build their budget, extract their budget. And so having more resources helps all of us. So, but that again is a net zero. It's kind of moving salary puts money around from public safety, public services into the finance department to make this position more permanent so that we have more assistance in the budget building process.
Okay, thank you. Article 5 is payment of prior year bills. We'll see if we have any to present. We'll know more before town meeting on that. Article 6, transfer of the 40R funds into the Smart Growth Stabilization Fund. It's pretty much pro forma, although we need town meeting approval to do it. Article 7 would allow us to do that in the future without town meeting approval, so without further appropriation. That's why there's a 2/3 vote needed on that. It's essentially accepting a local option to do that. So that's Article 6 and 7.
Matt, just a quick question. So the 40R funds, those are the funds where we build stuff, we get kind of a reimbursement payment.
Right.
And right now it comes in and it's not designated, and this is designating it to the Smart Growth Stabilization.
Exactly, yeah, and that's where it should go, but it comes in and it sort of sits there. So that will be corrected in the future if Article 7 passes. So, okay, that's what I understand about that. Article 8, transfer from free cash into the opioid settlements receipts special reserve fund. That's sort of similar. We get money from the opioid settlement. Sharon could talk more if you have questions, but we put it in free cash now, and it really should be moved into that special reserve fund for future appropriation. So that would take care of that issue.
Can I ask you a question? What's the size of that?
The size of? Sure. Go ahead, Sharon.
So first, let me give you a little background on that opiate.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, if you could speak up a little.
Get my laptop closed. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Much better.
Okay, so the opioid settlement funds were from 2023. We started getting them in 2023, and we didn't have the legislation in place to allow us to set up a special revenue account to keep track of the funds, because there is a requirement with the settlement funds to use them for programming related to drug abuse and that sort of thing. So to have close to free cash was not ideal, but any revenue that comes into the general fund is general. Any money that comes in that isn't earmarked by some sort of grant agreement or some legislation or it has to go into the general fund, so it was forced to close to free cash. Fiscal 24, we got the legislation we needed to set up the reserve fund that we needed to keep track of the funds, to keep track of the spending, of what we were using those funds for. And we were able to automatically, based on that legislation, move all the fiscal 24 funds that came in. But anything that came in fiscal 23, it goes to free cash. And so if it's in free cash, you need a town meeting vote to move it. And so that's what this article is for. It's about $81,000 that goes to free cash in fiscal 23. And it's a matter of just transferring it to this new special revenue fund that was created by the exception to the rules related to general fund.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll skip over 9 and continue.
Sorry, 8? Sorry, that was it, sorry.
That was
I'm
it,
reading
yeah,
this
so I'll
right.
skip over
Mine is the
9.
debt.
No, they want to stop now and then.
Oh, we're gonna stop, okay. Stop
Do it in
it.
blocks.
Yeah, I mean, we can,
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
so I guess I don't have a.
so you would probably have a motion to add Article 1 through 8 to the warrant, to the town meeting.
Probably what, to support maybe?
Or the motion?
Because
Oh, we
it's,
don't have any
it's kind of irrelevant-ish, but it's just showing support or
Yeah.
not for an article, I guess.
Right.
It's not binding, it just, the select board voted 4-0 on this, like FinCom gives their report, et cetera. So,
Right.
but I don't have an issue with anything 1 through 8. So maybe the motion would be, move to support Articles 1 through 8 on the November warrant.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Karen, any discussion?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, roll call vote. Karen?
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Carlo? Yes. Okay. So, Article 9?
No, we're skipping that, right?
Well, no, we're not skipping it. We're
Well, I just
doing it
Okay.
without,
We'll do it in Chris is gonna leave for Article, or you can leave.
Or whatever discussion you're giving, yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Yep,
No, I'm just-
so I'll wait till Chris leaves the room. Okay, so Article 9 is a debt authorization for the Haven Street Infrastructure Project. I won't go too much into it because at the last meeting, Ryan came and gave a really good overview what the project would be. We will end up having to borrow for some of it, but we also have in the bank, so to speak, $2.6 million from MassWorks grant already there. We're hoping to get some more money from a federal earmark. We're not counting on it, but it would be another $2.5 million to go to help out this project. The total project cost is $8 million, and if we didn't get the federal earmark, the current borrowing would be $5.4 million. So it's a matter for town meeting to decide about funding. Like I said, we are partway there anyway, so that's that. That's that article.
All right, any, Melissa? Oh, sorry, Melissa first.
Unfortunately, I know they've put a lot of work into this. I can't support this article at this time. I don't think it's responsible of us to be spending probably close to 6 million. I mean, without the federal funds, just with 2 debt exclusions, the talk of an override and just everything else, it's not responsible of us to be spending $6 million on a beautification project. I consider that a want, not a need, so I cannot support this article.
Mark?
Thanks, Carlo. I feel similarly. I'd love to see us find additional outside funds to do as much of it as we can and then come back with a smaller request. But I think with an open end of potentially $5.5 million, it's not one of the top 2 priorities right now. So I wouldn't support it either.
Karen, do you have any comments on the Haven Street project?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and the other select board members, that is. And what I would like to do is I would like to support this article so that town meeting can weigh in, but I hear your concern.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues in the room right now. There's bad timing, unfortunately, and this is the area where I live and walk. I'd like to see it, but I think we have other priorities right now. So again, this is gonna go to town meeting, but if, when Caitlin records this on Article 9, I think she should, name us, not just a vote, so we know, if the town meeting knows where we commented. So, but for the record, Karen wants to see this move forward. Carlo, Mark, and Melissa are not in favor at this time for Article 9.
Do you want to entertain a motion?
So correction there, Mr. Chair?
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Chair, I am, sorry, to be very clear, I would like this motion to go before town meeting. I'm not necessarily voting to a personal vote of support at this point. If that makes sense.
So do you want to abstain then?
So are we, are we voting? So here's the question. We have this, the grant funding. So if we do not put this article forward, does that mean that, staff goes back to the drawing board and figures out what we could do with it because we can't accept grant money and not spend it on something on Haven Street?
Matt?
We may still be able to, I'll have to double check with Ryan, but we may still be able to spend at least the $2.6 million on something smaller down there if they could work out the engineering on it, which, wouldn't be any town money. It wouldn't be the project that they were looking for, but we can look to do that if the funding doesn't pass.
Is the MassWorks grant predicated on an amount that we spend, or that's the grant that we
No,
were
I think
awarded?
that's the grant we were awarded, and, I don't think it was a matching grant. I can double check with Ryan just to be sure, but I think we were awarded that for this project. We were also asked for a federal earmark that is conditioned, maybe we'll get it, maybe not. But the whole project, like everything else, the prices keep going up. So Ryan's estimate now is about $8 million for the whole project.
Right, but
Yeah.
to like some of the points that we made, if it was, to me, the nicest part of this project is down by the depot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the safety and the
Yeah, like we saw
crosswalks.
last time, yeah.
All of Haven Street with the trees and the bump outs, and to me, that was never needed.
Okay.
Because we did Haven Street not too long ago, but maybe Ryan could, I'm speaking for myself, I could support.
Okay, I have a meeting with
Yeah.
them about this tomorrow, actually, so.
Okay.
We'll take a look and maybe come back with something different if that's the feeling of the board, so.
Yep.
So is our vote that we're supporting it or not, or removing it from the warrant?
No, not removing it, no.
Supporting or not?
Yeah, supporting it.
Thank you.
So it'll still stay on, but I'm gonna need to talk, given that's your opinion, I'm gonna need to talk to staff about how we can maybe
Yeah,
do something a little different, so. Okay,
so,
So how about a motion to support Article 9 on the warrant? So
Yeah.
a yes vote would be to support it, and a no vote would be to not support it.
correct.
I'll make the motion to support it.
All right,
Do we want to second it?
Oh, second, yes, sorry.
thank you.
I was still trying to process what Mark said, the yes vote to support or not, I apologize.
Any more discussion before the vote? All right, Karen, I'll go to you first.
Okay, I'm gonna abstain at this point. This needs to go before town meeting for a healthy discussion, but, again, I hear the concerns about priorities at this point. So I'm just gonna abstain from this vote.
Okay, thank you. Melissa?
No.
Mark?
No.
And Carlo, no. All right, Chris, come back in, thank you. Article 10?
yes, okay, so Chris is back, Article 10. So this is the adoption of mandatory kilowatt hours. This is one of the final pieces needed to qualify for green communities, which we've been working on for a number of years. It does require a town meeting vote. We had checked with the attorneys and the state. So we'd like to bring this to town meeting and ask them to allow us to do that and also authorize the select board to execute an agreement and any sort of necessary documents. There's a whole, I'll have more for town meeting so they can see it, but there's a whole package that goes along with this.
Good job.
So that's green communities. The
Can I
next, did you want to?
No, I just,
Yes?
yeah, I just want to know, do we know what kind of fee that we're looking? Is it still the nominal dollar, or are we up to
Yeah,
like
it's,
something crazy?
I actually double checked with the state, and it comes out to $3 to $4 for a family of 4 per year. So it's 0.0005 per kilowatt hour, so it's de minimis. Not a lot, so, okay. Okay, so that's Article 10. Article 11, this is, you had a presentation last meeting from Bill Sullivan regarding from the Town Forest Committee regarding animals and voice control. Since then, on these two articles, the Board of Health took it up as well and decided to co-sponsor the two town forest articles as well regarding unleashed dogs and regarding voice control. So we'll now have two sponsors, so, for those two articles. So that's Article 11, Article 12. Article 13, you heard Bill Sullivan speak about that. That's transfer of funds for removal of the red pines and invasive species. That's roughly $150,000, I believe, is what he was counting on for that transfer. Lot 5 is Article 14. That's the new parking area for the town forest. That came with some restrictions that we have to fulfill, so we're gonna be transferring that land to the Conservation Commission, and then they could carry out their duties there. And that would restrict the land for further sale by the town. I think that was one of the provisions in acquiring the land. So that's Article 14. Article 15, this came in fairly late. If you remember on the last warrant, we had asked for borrowing regarding the field house floor. So town meeting approved $1.7 million for that. In talking to the superintendent and the facilities director, they would like more money for the floor. I believe they're gonna be asking for an additional 1.3 million in borrowing, which I understand is a sort of a surprise and not what we said at the last town meeting, but because prices have gone up and this is the floor that they want, they've asked me to include that on the warrant, so.
So what's the total now?
So, roughly $3 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep. And the superintendent will be there at town meeting to make that presentation, probably with some comments from Joe Huggins as well.
It's floor and bleachers, or just floor?
Floor and bleachers. It'll be, I'll double check on that, but I believe it's for the same project that we had before, so.
Good. So, I hear it, but I think it needs more discussion. I'm not comfortable just kind of almost doubling the budget.
Right.
It may require kind of rethinking, getting the floor done and maybe not the bleachers, or finding a different way to do it, but just to kind of add to it and double it is not.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a lot.
troubled by that one.
I don't know, Sharon, did you have anything, I know you talked directly to the school department about this, did you have anything more to add on that regarding the field house floor?
Yeah, I asked them for some backup because I wasn't familiar with what the decision was to go with a more expensive floor was and why. And they had stated that they wanted to,
Sharon, we can barely hear you. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's you, but
Hear me?
not really.
Must be a bad connection.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can turn up the volume here. I know she said that she'd asked for more background on it and why they want to go with the more expensive floor.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's a little bit better, yep.
I have to put my face right up to my computer. My computer's been having a lot of problems this year.
Okay.
So essentially, at April town meeting, I believe it was, we had asked for this debt authorization for 1.7 million to replace the existing floor and bleachers with the same material that they currently have. And then at that town meeting, we were asking for the debt authorization because we were transferring some money from Parker Roof. And bond counsel had stated it won't qualify unless you have a debt authorization already approved. And so that's why we had to do the debt authorization that evening. We were told they were looking at different options for the floor and that they may need to come back for additional debt authorization if they chose a more expensive option. The option they're looking to go with is a maple floor, and I'm not entirely clear why that's the best option. I've got some backup. I'm going to close the file, but I asked them for some background and for somebody to present, like, what is the difference between the floors? It's a dramatic difference in price. You need to convince, the select board, FinCom, town meeting, why this is a better option. Is there a longer life to the floor? So those are the sorts of things I kind of prompted them for, because 1.7 will replace the existing floor that they currently have with the bleachers. but they want to go with a higher quality floor for whatever reasons. So I can't really speak to those reasons, except they feel the maple floor is I don't know if it's gonna have a longer life. I'm not sure if it's gonna yield less injuries. Those are the things that I think they're gonna need to speak to when this is presented, because I wasn't involved in those discussions.
Yeah, I think I'm not ready to support it yet.
Go ahead, Chris.
I love Dr. Milachevsky, everything he's done. I've supported every single thing that he has brought forward, etc. But I agree with Mark. This is I mean, you just heard what I said on CPA. And I'm going to be like, oh yeah, let's just spend $3 million on the floor. It's just been like, things write themselves. So, I mean, this is going to be an extremely tough sell.
I can read to you what they sent me so far. I don't know that it provides the answers, just to give you a little bit more background, but I don't know that, I didn't feel like I came away with all the answers I would want, but I can give you what they gave me. I'm pulling it up right now.
Can they rebid it?
Huh?
Can they rebid it? Send it out again?
I think it's just the difference of what they think the best floor
What
is.
they want to use.
Not necessarily- They could do the $1.7 million floor, but there's still another option that they consider to be better. So they have some estimates for a rubber in-kind replacement, which is what they have, a Lumaflex synthetic real wood composite material, or a maple hardwood floor. And it basically says the recommendation that they have is, in reviewing the advantages and disadvantages of each, it became apparent that the material of choice is maple hardwood. This is for several reasons. It says, one, maple hardwood has been used as a playing surface for many years and is the preferred material in the athletic world. The second reason is maple hardwood provides a softer surface than a rubber material directly on the slab. They also say that maple hardwood is durable and stable. And then it says, we are able to review another local flooring layout that utilized a rubber track surrounding a cardboard center court, which the owner was very satisfied with. So they were, that they were basing on that. And then they also put maple hardwood floor is more available than the Lumaflex, and more local contractors have experience installing it. So, and then the main disadvantage to the maple hardwood floor is the cost. However, it's not exponentially more expensive than Lumaflex. I think what we have is a rubber, I'm not entirely sure. So I felt like this was going to be a lot more money, so I feel like that statement isn't necessarily true. And then we believe the benefit to cost ratio makes it the best option. The rubber flooring that will replace the areas outside the competition court will increase in thickness slightly. Currently, there is a 3 millimeter rubber surface. The flooring product that will be the basis of the design for the new floor has ranges from 4 millimeters to 8 millimeters in thickness. So I would gather that's gonna provide more safety, but it's a lot more money, so I get it.
Thank you. So I think we should take 10 and 14 as a block and then do 15.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
If I could ask Sharon, so we have, like what was mentioned during the financial forum, like 480 or something in that Burbank fund. Can we not just use that to make this sting less, or we can't do that, or what's the deal? Why do we even have all that money to begin with if we're not going to use it?
It can be used for anything, actually. We could, but it has to, I guess, get a town meeting vote to use it. But I don't think it won't take away all of the burn here, but it definitely could be utilized if that's what you so desire, what your meeting desires to do.
Yeah, I think Tom is going to have to do something spectacular, because this isn't going to end up like Killam with zero discussion and just flying through.
Well, it's facilities, it's not Tom, it's facilities.
No, but still, like.
He's speaking to it.
Yeah, he's speaking.
Yeah, obviously, he's gonna advocate.
He's listed as the
No, no.
presenter.
Yeah. I know, but it's facilities that's really making this recommendation is my point.
Well, I feel like the recommendation is not facilities necessarily. It's based on what they think the need is for the floors and the safety. And so it's definitely being driven by more than just facilities. It's the pick that they think is the best option and that town meeting might pick. I do think it's a lot more expensive. So we have an option that's in the price range that we've already authorized. I think they want to see if we want to go with the more high quality maple hardwood floor is what I guess.
And the carrot to ask, I get it, right? So let's take 10 and 4, let's do block 10 to 14, and then.
If I could just end it on, I have heard the stories of kids blowing their legs out over there. So I understand that this is the original 1.7, 1.3, whatever, definitely warranted, because these kids are like it's a safety concern.
Oh, something has to be done.
So beyond this, it's gonna have to get explained, in a way that, I'm not gonna be voting on it, so someone's gonna have to be clear and concise on this big difference, so. But I can do 10 through 14, you said?
Please.
Unless Karen has something.
Karen, anything to add?
No, I'm concerned about asking to almost double the price of this project with a new school on the horizon. So I just have reservations about this personally.
All right, we're gonna do 10 to 14 right now, then a separate vote on 15, so we'll do 10 to 14.
Yep, move to support Articles 10 through 14 on the town warrant.
Second.
Any other discussion? Chris?
If I could, I know I mentioned it last time, how I thanked Bill Sullivan for the work that he did on this, and I appreciate him compromising on the leash law scenario. I think it's good to see people compromising on things, and I'm very happy to see that he did it. Like I told you, I'm either all for or against something, but I'm happy he did what he did. So, thanks.
Karen, 10 to 14 in support or not, or no?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Carlo, yes, 5-0. So let's do a motion. We already talked about 15. Let's do a motion on 15 or vote.
So how do we want to word this? Because I'm also in the camp of Karen is abstaining, but I don't like abstaining from things. I want to support it with an asterisk that I think it's, I don't, it's very difficult on this one.
I think we'll be allowed to ask questions and speak at town meeting and make our voices heard. So I think you decide what you want to do.
But we did a motion on the other one that you didn't vote on as a motion to support, is the way it was, and then the vote played out as it played out, which was not.
Yeah, no, all right. Yep. So move to support Article 15 on the town meeting warrant.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing or hearing none. Karen, on 15, the floor?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes, with an asterisk.
Melissa?
No.
Mark?
No.
And Carlo, no. All right. So now we're on to 16. Karen, I know you're on Zoom or on the phone. I'm just gonna hand the gavel to Mark, because he's in the room, to do the rest.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Matt.
Okay, yep, so the final two articles deal with MBTA communities. My understanding is CPDC is still, discussing things, although they have at least given us indication that they wanted to see two articles go to town meeting. So we did draft two, at least placeholder articles. one for the Business D, which is Article 16, one for the A80, which is Article 17. The language in the articles has been vetted by Andrew and by Ivrea. It'll have to be probably expanded a little by motion, which we're allowed to do after the fact. But we feel that this sort of covers us legally to get us to the next phase. And hopefully CPDC will make their decision and we can finalize the language for the town meeting warrant. But this language will suffice for the purposes of our meeting now until we have clearer language from CPDC.
So if I could, so D is representing kind of the Main Street, South Main.
Yes.
And the property on North Main.
Yep, that's the, yep.
So
the business
16 and 17 focuses on smart growth.
That's correct.
Okay, any comments?
Just a couple comments is that, one, on the South Main Street option that I know a lot of people discussed in the hearings and, you know, I've heard it throughout town is that, you know, we really want South Main Street to be developed with businesses and residential and all that. And one thing that I learned from Andrew, listening to some of the people that called in at the first meeting, is that it's not a given that they have to build businesses there. We're gonna incentivize them to, but that's not a given. So that's one thing that I think that people need to understand. And also, the other thing is that when we started this, one of the things that came out from CPDC is minimal compliance. We wanted to, you know, letter of the law, we're gonna follow the state here and, you know, some people agree with it, some people don't, but I think that Article 17, which is the A80 concept, is that minimal
That's
requirement.
correct, yep. That's minimal
so-
paper compliance, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, so I will support Article 17 and will not support Article 16.
Karen?
So I am looking to support Article 16, and I am not currently in support of Article 17.
And I think that they work together and need to be together. And I'm not sure I understand separating them, but I'm going to support both.
Can I just, sorry, just one more thing. The other thing, I agree with you. I actually don't love the idea of putting two options up to town meeting. I think this is gonna turn into kind of a.
Long will come. It's a 4-letter word.
Yeah, I don't love the idea of the two separate articles either.
Yeah.
So, just my point of view.
Yep, no, and that's not what we had envisioned, but that's sort of the direction we've gotten from CPDC. So now this is what we have, and, you know, we'll finalize the language at a later time, so.
Yep. So let's separate them. Let's take a vote on 16, then take a vote on 17.
Okay.
All right, so why don't I'll make a motion to support.
So point of information.
Yep.
Point of information, sorry to interrupt. This is a warrant, these are two warrant articles brought forward by an official committee. Do we need to vote on these? The charter says that these shall go to town meeting.
So this is not whether or not they're going to make the warrant, right? Everything here is going to go on the warrant, assuming we close it as it is, which I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. What we've done separately here, however, is make support votes on different articles. So this would just be that the board is voting support for it. It's not related to putting it on or not putting it on the warrant. Did that clarify?
Okay. Yeah, I see. I'm sorry, I didn't have it in front of me, and I see for town, it's consistent with what we did for town forest committee. Okay.
So why don't I just make a motion to select board supports Article 16 in the upcoming town warrant.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Not appearing. Okay, Karen, I'm voting on Article 16, the business D.
Yes.
Melissa?
No.
And Mark, yes. All right, and then I'll make a motion to for Article 17. The motion is for the select board to support Article 17 on the town warrant.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Karen, how do you vote on Article 17, which is the A80?
No.
Melissa?
Yes.
And Mark, yes. Okay. Now, Carlo can't close the warrant.
No. Yeah, so
And so is Chris gonna participate?
I don't believe Chris can close the warrant either because he was conflicted on one of the items. So that's why we had to have Karen call in from Italy. So we'll have 3 votes to close the warrant, so.
Awesome. Okay, so could I ask you, Melissa, to make a motion to close the warrant, the 17 articles of the warrant for, I probably should make sure.
I have the,
Oh, is there a motion? Hang on, I've got a motion right here. I've got a
Do we have a
motion.
motion? I might have
yeah,
it.
I can, yep, it was just one.
Do we have it?
Yes. Well, I can give it to you.
Yeah. It would be moved to close the subsequent town meeting warrant consisting
this
of
it?
17 articles.
By virtue of this?
Nope,
Nope.
it is.
This,
I
sorry.
have it on paper if you need it to.
This one right there.
Okay. Move to close the subsequent town meeting warrant consisting of 17 articles to take place on November 12th, 2024.
I will second that. Any discussion? None appearing. Let's take a roll call vote. Karen?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark, yes. Okay, so we successfully closed the warrant. Bring them back. Okay.
Come back in.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Where are we? Water, right?
Second, yep.
We did,
Water information.
Yep.
John Arena, Precinct 1, CPDC. Does the matter which caused you, 2 members of the select board to recuse themselves, similarly apply to all elected bodies on similar matters? To be specific, when this comes to town meeting floor, do the elected members of town meeting consider this in the same light?
Town meeting is exempt from conflicts of interest.
I don't want to dig into the details, but some will ask, you may want to have a prepared presentation.
thank you. All right,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
it's almost 3 AM. I'm gonna drop off and, thank you, Matt and, Caitlin for setting this up. And just to let you all know, I have been able to hear Sharon clearly the whole time, so I'm not sure what kind of technical difficulties there are, but it seems to be affecting the folks in the room more than the folks dialed in. But thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thanks,
All right,
Karen.
thanks.
Enjoy your
Good
trip.
night.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we did CPA, yeah, we're all caught up. So now we're gonna go to discuss and vote second water meters. And the board received a few emails regarding why there was nothing in the packet. You know, why we putting this ahead of something, which I stated earlier we're not. But this is meant to be a discussion. I talked with town staff and we need to put a plan together. And the reason I put this on the agenda, A, to move this forward, and B, to kind of discuss as a board what is the right thing to do. You know, I don't like the word lottery myself, but as you heard earlier, if you forget, there's currently, as we know of, there's 154 second meters out there in Reading. So the way I've been thinking, so I'll start the conversation, is that those folks that made that investment that many years ago should receive a letter stating if they want to, I guess, call it re-up, because they most likely are gonna have to get re-inspected. Their meter could be outdated, it might not be, so there'll be some expense. And then open it up to a number of residents. And that's the reason I put it on the agenda, is kind of where do we want to land? Are we all comfortable with the lottery, that word? Do we want to open it town-wide? Do we want to open up to several hundred people? And then town staff will take the ball, come back to us, and then very shortly, we will kind of vote. I know it says discuss and vote, but, Karen is not here. And, we've been talking about this for years. This is nothing new. Mark knows, we've been talking about this for a while now. So that's why it's here. So I'll start off the conversation with, I think, for year one, up to 300 is kind of where I'm landing. And that includes whatever number of the 154 wants to partake. Some of you might want to go higher, go lower, do a lottery. But I think we need to do something. I am one of the fortunate ones that my water bill doesn't really vary much. I don't know why with 3 girls in the house or just 2 girls in the house. I don't understand that. And I also have a business on the first floor. What I heard tonight was not good at all. And that's a separate issue with rates. But man, the house would be for sale if I got those bills. I'd be selling my house. So that's where I'm at. So I'll start the conversation up to 300. First come, first serve. And I'll open it up. Melissa?
A couple things, just because we had so many people that came to public comment tonight and we've received so many emails. I want to say that first off, I fully support fixing the multi-unit billing situation. And I've been pretty vocal about that since the tiered system went into place and we heard about that issue. We did have to wait for Sharon and the consultant to come back to us, so it is on our next meeting. We are not just pushing that off, so I hope people know that. I also support second water meters. Full disclosure, I have an irrigation system at my house, but I don't know that the money makes sense for me to get a second water meter, but just wanted to put that out there. But I think that fixing both of these issues is important and makes it equitable for everyone. Because just like the billing issue with the multi-unit housing and the residents paying the higher tier water rates, people that use irrigation systems, pools, or anything that doesn't use the sewer are also paying for something they shouldn't be paying for. So I think we need to fix both of these issues for everyone, because I think then it makes the water rates equitable for everyone. I'm okay with the pilot program. If we want to go forward that way and see how that looks in a year. But I do think that we need to do something on both of these matters.
Do you have a number? That would help.
I do think 300 is a little low. I'd probably go a little higher. I truly don't know how many people we're gonna get to jump on this. We discussed what the costs were gonna be, and it's thousands of dollars for someone to install this and to install it properly. So I think people need to weigh that out. So I'm not afraid of saying a higher number, because I don't think that we're gonna have a mad rush of people that come to town hall and say, I want a second water meter. Because even the people that have older second water meters may have to install some updates like the rain sensor and stuff like that to bring them up to date. So there's gonna be a cost that residents are gonna have to incur to do that, so.
All right, anyone else? Mark?
Thanks, Carl. So, I would advocate for a number like 200, but I think more importantly, I think what the board should do here is instruct the town manager to, other than the number, which is gonna be us, to put together a recommendation with a timeline when it's gonna come back to us for how to do this and what they should do. Specifically, for example, many of the communities that offer second water meters also have tiered rates. And what they do is some of them at least, this is Lexington in particular, because I didn't grab all of them, they take the highest tier, and that's the rate that's assigned for the second meter. The highest tier rate is what's used for the second meter. I know that other communities do that, or they use a 150% number in a couple of communities. Again, I haven't done all the homework on it, but we need to decide what the rate would be. And it is very clear that many communities don't use the same, they don't use it to what would be a lower rate. They
If
take
they were
the highest
on a
rate.
tiered system.
Yeah.
Okay,
They take the highest rate.
I gotcha.
Second, just in terms of discussions, so in fact, many of the communities around us do not have second meters. Some do, many do not. I just went through MWRA to see what they had. They have a list, so Woburn, Winchester, Wilmington, Wakefield, Linfield, and again, this is their data on their website, but some do, some don't. So obviously, it's up to us in terms of how to handle it. I do remain very concerned that we certainly don't want to encourage high usage of the communities around us. Many still have water restrictions. In fact, of the 23 communities that we use as our peers, 7 of them have water restrictions. There's a map on MWRA that shows who has water restrictions in the state, and it's quite a few. It could be pulled up. I sent it over to Caitlin just in case. But I'm very concerned in general about how that's done, and there are many other communities that feel the same way about that. That said, I understand the desire. I think thank you. If you can scroll down just a little bit to the map, Caitlin. It's like maybe just a screen. Yep, right there. That's it. So anything in color has restrictions.
They're all on NWRA though? No,
No, this is the state in general.
the state in general, okay.
Yep.
So those aren't our peer communities though?
No, so
Okay.
the peer communities, 7 of 23 have restrictions.
Right,
This is, I wanted
okay.
to see what it looks like. This is, I think, is this the DEP site? I forget what it is. It's mass.gov/.
Yeah, it says mass.gov.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just in terms of kind of how it's done. So again, we're going to make the decisions here. I believe that the compromise position is in fact to do some kind of a modest pilot. I agree that the folks that already have meters should be given the option to kind of step up if they want to. And then I think that one of the reasons to do the pilot is to kind of learn how to do this and to learn what it takes. It will be a lot more work on the part of the town and town officials. And that's why I think they need to be the ones that kind of build the plan for how it's going to go. They can look at other communities, they can model it based on all those different things. Let them start. And I would start with a modest number, modest in the scheme of things in terms of what's being discussed, but I think 200 is a reasonable starting point for that. But giving Matt a date and saying, hey, we'd like you to come back on this, and frankly, on the other issue too, with a plan.
Yeah, right.
To how to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's where it should lie, and that's what I would suggest we move forward tonight, is to say, hey, by date certain, please come back with how you would want to do this.
Right, I gotcha. No, I talked about that as well, so, thank you. Chris, anything?
Of course. I've been advocating for this since day one. I know that we like to toss around the term of peer communities multiple times. I know the other night at the financial forum, we have 23 peer communities or whatever we have. The list, I think, there has to get updated. But in any event, in this scenario, out of the MWRA communities, not our peer communities, it's like 23 have them and 6 don't have second water meters. And there is 0 outside restrictions on any one of the MWRA communities other than Reading. So we are conserving with the odd even kind of scenarios that we have. The biggest question the biggest complaint that I've ever got by multiple people all the time, even at school drop-offs, et cetera, is the trash scenario. But like, why isn't my trash getting picked up? The biggest question I've always received is, why don't we have second meters in Reading? Like, that's truly there's not controversial stuff at school pickup and drop-offs, but that's been the biggest thing that I've seen is just, why don't we have second meters? And I understand that by doing this, we are, yes, going to spread out the sewer across the other households that don't have irrigation. But like I've said since day one, for the last 20, 30 years, however long it's been, the irrigation customers have been subsidizing the non-irrigation customers in Reading. Point blank, end of discussion. Because if the entire town of Reading only used irrigation outside for 100 days, the sewer bill on that would be next to zero. I understand runoff and whatever negligible kind of stuff, but the sewer charge on that should be zero because none of it went in there, except all the irrigation people are making up the difference on that. And it's been like that for 30 years. So I understand that non-irrigation people, their bill might go up a couple dollars. Obviously, Matt's going to give us the number. I asked him earlier how much an average bill would go up. Hearing 1,400, stuff like that is just nuts. I understand that's a separate discussion completely, because we do have to do something to somehow get these water rates to go down beyond a year or two, whenever it's gone, the buy-in. But it has been a long time coming for this actual inequity in Reading to be solved. And I'm happy to be a part of it. As I explained from the onset, every single time I've discussed this, I have irrigation meters at my house. Technically, if you want to count my contractor cutting them and running off with my money, etc., I don't have them, sort of. I'm on a quasi-loop on there. It doesn't matter. I would not be getting the second meter to begin with anyway, because it doesn't make financial sense for me to dump like $1,000 or $2,000 into inspections, getting a plumber, etc., doing all that. It doesn't make it the difference when I scale it out based off my water bill. And that's me. And I care about money more than probably everyone in this room. So I will not be getting a second water meter, but that's not my decision to make for everybody else. They can make that decision if it's right for them. And perhaps it will help with conservation as well, because a lot of these systems that were put in like 20, 30 years ago, maybe they didn't have rain sensors back then for the irrigation systems. And they're gonna have to put one in for this to happen. That's my caveat for Matt, to just make sure when they do the inspections, they have to have a rain sensor. It's like $50, it's wireless, whatever, but that might cut down on, you're driving down the street, it's pouring out, and you see people's sprinklers on. Well, under this scenario, they're gonna be saving some water on that aspect if they get the second meter. So, long story short, I feel happy moving this forward. I spoke with Paul, and I believe he found out Stoneham has 780, 800 people, and they've had second water meters since 2014 or whatever number he said. So going off that number, how I would feel to scale things back for Reading, because we can't just let the guardrails off on this. I understand, 2,000 people tomorrow could show up at Town Hall. We do have to put something on it, so I agree with Paul's sentiment that we're kind of, just finessing this or whatever, but we do have to put a guardrail on this in the beginning. I would advocate for, I think Melissa mentioned 500, I would be fine in the 500 range as well. I don't think that's a significant difference compared to 10,000 residents or whatever we have here in Reading. I mean, that's 1%?
Homes, you mean?
Homes, yes, that's 1%. Right? Quick math. Has to be 1%, I think. But in any event, I think that, we can just see how it is and feel it out. We can have, people can be put on notice that we're gonna do this, it's first come, first serve. You have to have a rain sensor. Inspections have to be done. There's the backflow preventer or whatever I think Chris had mentioned last time. So there's a lot of guardrails that Matt and Chris and the town can refine, but the sentiment in this is the paying for something that you did not actually ever use ends with me tonight when I vote on this. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think yes, I agree with Mark. Town staff has to come up with the plan, let's call it. But I think they're gonna want some direction. And that's why I want to have this discussion tonight on the number. I am not comfortable with open-ended right now. Just everybody that applies gets it. That may be the case down the road. I heard 2 500s, a 300 and a 200. That's what I heard. Yeah, right. I could pick you the 300. I look better. So, if we could compromise at 4, if you guys want to go on 3. I know I'm not gonna squabble over 100, but you know, whole homes. Obviously, these are homes here. These aren't condos. These aren't, you know, probably the a lot of townhomes that are out there and multifamilies that don't have a lot of grass. But anyway, I think town staff would want some kind of number.
So added up 5, 5, 2, and 3 is 15 divided by 4 is, you know, 3 and some change. So I'd go down to 400 if we were okay with that. I think, you know, I don't want to say 379 or some awkward number.
Right. Yeah, I think your number was way too low because we have 154. If we didn't have possible, if we didn't have that possible,
I view with it, so those folks are quote unquote easier. They're gonna need inspections and maybe upgrades. Everybody else is from scratch.
Yes.
Which means all the regulations being written, figuring out how to do it, assessing how long it takes to do it, figuring out what the right fees should be.
Right.
And very importantly, deciding what is the water rate to use.
Correct.
So, you know, just to give you a specific example, Lexington is, they're tier 1 to tier 3. So let's say you're tier 1 for your usage outside of irrigation.
Yeah.
You pay 2x for your irrigation.
2x.
2x. It's from 470, just under doubles, 475 to 940
Okay.
for anything that goes through the irrigation. And with that, there's nothing on
So
sewer.
why is their rate so low?
That was my
Yeah.
question. My
Yeah.
question was, how is
What are we
their
doing wrong?
original
So
rate?
Paul and I went back and forth on this a little bit. So
What are we doing
if you
wrong?
remember, and we should take the stuff that was presented a couple of years ago and before that, it isn't what we're doing wrong, it's the buy-in.
Yeah, I know.
And the debt that we pay, and they're largely interest-free loans. It's not interest that's killing us, it's the amount we paid to get into the
Yeah, I know.
But my
until it's gone.
But my understanding is that we've almost paid that off.
It's like 2 years.
We're getting close.
2 years is some of it.
And that the consultant presented. of
Not
like-
all of it. Not all of it, right?
He had it,
Going up.
Right.
he had it in there, but yes, it's
It's never going
rates
to
for
that.
everything go in one direction.
But it's never, not even close to going to half of what we have.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
Can we get their water? How do we pipe their water up here?
Well,
They tried to do it through Uber.
No, and I agree, and that's what I think the vote should be on, with the 5 of us.
Yep.
Right, what tier, how do we, how the heck do we get our rates lower if possible?
Look, we all want lower rates, that's not. a question.
Yeah, right, we all do, right, but I mean,
And how to get there would be lovely, but at least for a few years, we gotta deal with the capital cost, the capital and debt cost, that's still there. When that comes off, it better be a substantial change, it better be,
hopefully.
at least the
You would
capital.
think, but the consultant always had the numbers
Yeah,
going
he
up, so
did.
that's where I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had it
Yeah, I'll have to
coming
double
out.
check it.
He's coming in on October 8th or
Yeah,
next
Oh, is it
meeting,
the
so I'm sure.
it should be.
Yeah, yep. We can ask him.
So I never thought of Mark's scenario. As I sit here and just think of it on first blush, I would say absolutely not. Why would we increase the water rate for trying to fix water not going into the sewer? It doesn't make sense to me. I'd have to see more numbers on how this would look, but on first blush, I would say absolutely not. We're just putting a Band-Aid on something to put it on to something else.
Don't forget, it's not a huge spread.
I
Just keep that in
understand,
mind.
I would just have to, we're not voting on that aspect now,
Right.
but I would have to see the spread to see what it kind of makes sense. And we can base it off other people's water bills, et cetera, and see what's fair. But as I think of it, it doesn't sound fair to me, but
Yeah,
I might be
that's,
wrong.
that's something we're gonna have in front of us and get presented, and then, but we gotta move this forward. It's been years, since I've been on, probably, before that, but as of late, with everything going up in one direction, the flooring is an option, not because of a cost per se, which I thought would be crazy. At least it was a different flooring style, so it's hard to pick the number. It really is, and it is, if we do whatever number it is, and only half apply, do we allow the gap for the following year as an automatic? I
don't think you'll need to, but.
I don't know.
You just have to base this off, I know it was 30 years ago, but if only 154 people got it while they could back then, you scale it out, double it, 300, I don't think we're gonna hit a 500 number. I'm okay with doing 400 for now, we need a guardrail, I understand. But I would just leave it open until otherwise.
Okay, open-ended?
No,
Open
so
to
the
that
cap to
number.
400.
Open to that number, right, and when we reach that number, that's it.
Then we and then we come back and talk more about it.
Yeah, and it could take 3 years to get to that number.
It could.
But I think nobody can figure that out until the town comes back and says, here's what you're gonna have to do, here's how much we're gonna charge, here's how much labor it's gonna take on our side, which would support how much we're gonna charge. And all those pieces come together so that whoever goes through and says, okay, here's my decision, here's how much impact I think it is on my water, here's how much it's gonna cost me to install it, do I do it or not?
No, right. Some people, it's gonna be like an automatic decision, obviously,
yeah,
but basically,
absolutely.
right.
And I know we get fees from the permits, the inspections, so there is gonna be a net positive in this for us to, I know it's not a massive money-making win, but we are getting something. So town staff is gonna put the effort in, and we're gonna get it, as well as local plumbers or something else. They're gonna, I know we're not kickstarting the economy over here, but we're at least doing something in the trade realm that's helping people, if there's a
I really wanna say something right now, I'm not gonna, but, all right.
I don't even know what you're
No,
gonna say.
I think, I'm glad we had a discussion. I'm glad everyone spoke tonight. And, we're gonna work on this with town staff. We're not gonna let this just float in the atmosphere. And I think we don't just settle on a number right now, but we heard from the four of us. And, it'd be good to have our fifth member's input on this, obviously.
I think that we should set a number right now, so they have the direction.
Well, I'm gonna agree with Mark on this one, that I don't think we do right now. I think we've got a sense of what we have, and and if it ends up being 400 or 500, that's the number. I think 200 is way too low, that's just my opinion. But again, I don't think that makes a difference to what Matt was
So it's definitely, you're not gonna open, like you said, you're not taking the guardrails off, you're not gonna just say it's allowed for everybody. So it'll be some pilot program,
Yes,
say 500 or less.
not a lottery, 500 or less,
All
right, yeah.
That should probably be enough to go on to get
I think that's,
started, as long as that seems to be the consensus of what you're,
I think without a vote per se, it just seems as if we are kicking this one also down the road again, is my take on it. I mean, we could simply just
vote to direct.
Vote to allows a second water meter pilot program and direct Matt Cornelis
Town staff.
in town staff to explore the options regarding the pros and cons and come up with a plan capped at 500 users. Or, sorry, 400 users.
So moved?
Kind of just adding a date to the back of it. By.
So you don't think you can do it in 2 weeks? I don't know, because.
Nothing in October.
2 weeks.
Nothing in October.
1994 or something, when they put the moratorium on it. So, we could if longer than 2 weeks,
month.
probably at least a month because I'll wanna meet with staff, meet with the consultant, try to put something together, look what other towns are doing that works, and then have something
We have a
back.
meeting on the 29th.
The 29th is, what's that, a month? Yeah. So, back on the 29th.
I think that's
You wanna go
fair.
right after town meeting starts. You're gonna be crazy busy working on town meeting stuff now?
Yeah, but, whatever, so town meeting,
Not
so
Chris.
29th of October, so right before town meeting.
I mean,
So,
if you're good with the date, that's
Yeah.
that's more important than what I think.
yeah, well, I mean, we'll do, I'll talk to Chris, we'll do the best we can, but I think we can get something together at least by then. And I know that, I mean, this has more impact, I guess people will start watering in the spring or whatnot, but we wanna have something in place for that, for when
That would be nice.
for the spring season.
Can I suggest that you know that there is an agenda item for our next meeting, maybe to be thinking about that as well as you're doing the planning. You've got the consultant already in, you're talking to Chris.
Yeah, oh yeah, we are,
That would be a good thing to also consider, even though
to talk
it's
about,
the
yeah, for
next-
sure.
Next agenda.
Okay, so Mark so moved me.
I did. He
I
added.
amended.
Oh, he amended,
Friendly
okay.
amendment.
All right. Second?
So it's up to 400.
Up to 400.
Yeah,
Directing town
Town
staff to come back to our meeting on October the 29th
yes,
with recommendations.
yes.
So sorry, so you moved, did you second it?
No, we didn't do a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 4-0, thank you, all right. Minutes, 3 sets of minutes, I think I counted.
I thought two.
I could be wrong.
I think there's 2.
2 long ones?
Yeah, one set was pretty long. Sorry.
That's okay. Did anyone send anything to Caitlin in advance?
I did not receive any edits.
Okay,
I was fine with everything.
I read through it, I'm fine with it.
Through it once and I was fine with it.
Yep, I'm good.
Are you kidding me? Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is
Hold on,
record this date, call Karen back.
No.
Yeah, no, exactly.
call her.
322.
Wow. Are we gonna do this for real? All right, let's do it, quick.
Move to approve the meeting minutes from July 16th, 2024 and August 20th, 2024 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's a record in my tenure. That's a record. Wow, I'm impressed. Impressed, all right. So I think we're on to future agendas. And I already set some things in place. I can't, I'm not gonna say that. I don't anticipate this changing much. So if anyone wants to look, Mark, I'm not ignoring your request of, did I put it here? Yeah. I put it on the 29th, future of the Pleasant Street Center. So you made that request. I'm not ignoring it. I just don't think we're ready. I don't think we're ready then yet, it's my opinion, because we don't have a site yet. I feel more comfortable when we get a site.
So
That's just
the odds of it being a different location are exceptionally high. And if things are gonna move forward to an April timeframe, and if this board decides you want a committee to explore it, we wanna give them time to explore it.
I don't know if we need a committee, but again, that's another discussion.
Yeah, so I think it's good to have it on October 29th. If you would allow, I would be willing to try to draft an idea to share with the board at that meeting.
Yeah, sure. That's fine, yeah, that's fine. It's gonna be an agenda item, yeah.
Okay,
I
that
just,
sounds great. And then maybe that we wanna at the next meeting is until November 19th.
yeah.
Okay,
I committee, I don't know. I guess we'll just see what
Yeah,
you.
I'm happy to have
Yeah.
that discussion,
Yeah,
just to think about it.
Yeah, that's fine. So so we get the 8th, we get the 29th, a little bit going on. So correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. So we're doing what we've done in the past, but we just haven't had a preview on the 29th for tax classification. So Victor is going to come on the 29th, and we're going to hear it out, his presentation, and then we're going to vote, which we normally do anyway. Usually we have Victor's kind of, I don't want to put words in Victor's mouth, but we didn't do one over the summer or whenever we do one for a number of reasons, and he's only dealt with a preview. The four of us have seen this several times. Melissa, this would be her first go at it, so she's happy to. She's happy. She is more than welcome to meet with Victor to get an understanding. But for me, because of timing and everything else, that's how we're doing it. We're planning to do it, I should say.
Could I?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So, we've been working pretty hard to try to, when we don't have a time-sensitive item, to try to allow 2 meetings to have discussions. And I think from our policies, again, when things aren't time-sensitive, we have full planning and we're not against the wall. I would like to see us keep that. I think it's a good practice to have. This is one where I don't think we're against the wall right now.
I think we are.
Well, I mean, I know he's not available on the 8th because Sharon and I both checked with him, so he couldn't come to the 8th anyway. The 29th, that's right around the time that we do the tax classification. He also has state guidelines, and he was working with 2 other towns because we share him, so his time is valuable. So he offered, to meet with it, not just Melissa, but anybody individually to spend time during the day to talk about the classification. But he's not available on the 8th. We had it scheduled for the 29th. And November's getting a little late in the game, especially with no meeting scheduled because of town meeting. So I know this year the schedule got a little pushed, and I sent an email. He feels it would be even more confusing to people to present old numbers and then 2 weeks later present the real numbers, the new numbers for this year. That's his opinion on that. So that's what we're working with.
So a couple thoughts. One is that we've been able to successfully do this for as long as we've been working with Victor.
Yeah.
So I don't see why things have changed, truthfully, other than I understand his schedule is busier.
Right.
My biggest concern, truthfully, is if we were to entertain this, I think that he needs to publish stuff. It needs to go out as either an early agenda to the public, or in some way letting people see it, because doing it all in one doesn't allow people to really comment.
Sure.
It just kind of, here it
As soon
is.
as it's ready, as soon as he says it's ready, he puts the state numbers, the senior circuit breaker, he's still working on that. But as soon as it's ready, we can put it out there. That's not a problem.
I'd even like to suggest that at least 2 weeks in advance.
Okay.
of that meeting.
I think that should be fine, in advance of the 29th meeting. Okay.
And maybe allow, just have, maybe just, Mr. Chair, think about if people want to have a comment, what mechanism do you want to use? So they could certainly email the board, just how to do it. I think we're trying to.
I think, I hear what you're saying, but I think when I meet with Matt and Jane to get ready for the 8th, if I see any deviance from what is gonna happen on the 29th and the weeks leading up to it per Victor's schedule, I think we can address it again at our next meeting on the 8th and see where we are. I don't wanna jump ahead too much. I know it's September, the end of September, but I know what you're saying, but I think if this was a whole new board, I'd have a totally different attitude. Or if I was the only senior person, or you were the only senior person, but it's not. And I know we have new residents in town and this and that, but this is pretty, to me, straightforward. This topic, I have spoken on this topic for 15 years plus. So it takes a lot to change my mind, but, that's, I don't wanna discuss things. So, yeah, let's stick for the 29th, and for some crazy reason, Victor just can't get things out, in mid-October, it's not like we can't have a meeting during town meeting for one agenda item. I don't wanna do that, but it's not like we can't. And we've done it before, we've met before during town meeting time
Yeah.
before.
Half an hour early.
We've done it, yeah, so we've done it, so, that's always on the table. Because of our schedule, we have one meeting in November and, a few meetings in December. So, and then it's the holidays, so that's where it stands right now. So does anyone have any other future topics that aren't on here? Melissa?
Not really future topics, but to what Mark said, I agree and I disagree with him, and I just kind of wanted to mention it, is that I do think our packet needs to be way more detailed. I would like to see more information in the packet for residents to see. I think it's important that they know what's gonna happen in our meetings. And when it comes to this tax classification, I love the idea of getting it out to residents earlier rather than later, so then they can give us the feedback, whether it's email, conversations, phone calls, whatever that may be. So I would like to see our packets more informative for our residents. With that being said, I like the idea of discussing and voting in one meeting. I think it's more efficient, I think we can get more things done, that's how the school committee works really well at it.
Actually, they don't.
They
They
do.
work on two meetings. There's
No, I don't
there's
think- I think they
standard
discuss and
policy is
vote.
two. Standard policy is first reading and second reading.
I will double check that, but I don't think so. I think they discuss and vote, and I just think that if we can get information to the residents, they can give us feedback. Discussing and voting in one night is a way better approach. I just feel like we just keep kicking things down the road constantly. We're constantly like, next meeting, next meeting, next meeting. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I get it. Do you have a comment?
I do, I think.
We're just doing future agendas, by the way, now.
Well,
Sorry,
no,
I went off.
Yeah, on future agenda.
Oh, sorry, second water meters, you gotta put it on the 29th.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my
I think
went
at
off cue there.
September 24th at 9:32 PM is the date that I disagree with you on this.
Disagree with what?
We have to have two meetings on the tax classification. We just have to.
It's not, okay, it's not two meetings, it's a presentation, and then we
I understand,
ask
but
Victor questions, and then we have a vote on the next meeting. We're not gonna see the presentation again.
I think that that's one of two meetings the entire year that people weigh in on. And I think that we shouldn't do it all in the same meeting. So if Victor has to give us a 30-minute Zoom somewhere between the 29th and 8th, it is what it is. But we have to do something. Or if we vote on town meeting date or whatever, 30-minute thing there, it is what it is. But we can't just have a hearing and then vote at the same one like that. I just, not on something like this. We all know what's happening. We all know what's coming. There's gonna be 25-ish emails, people, et cetera. It has to happen.
Well, it's a public hearing, yeah.
No, I mean, in advance, then as well, we gotta have something happen.
Okay.
Like I said, it could be a 30-minute Zoom with Victor in advance, that we just hash out the questions then. We have the information, like Melissa had mentioned, for that meeting in the packet, et cetera, so we have it then. It's a.
You're talking about a meeting before the 29th?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Just a simple, Victor's animated, he does what he does, he's quick and efficient. 30 minutes, we ask a couple questions, whatever, and we move on.
What do people feel about that? Mark?
I think it works. I think that the main goal is to let people see and weigh in.
Okay.
And, the other possibility, so the 29th has other things on the agenda, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm just saying this just has to be a Zoom meeting, 30 minutes, whenever we can do it. Nice straw poll with whatever dates that Victor has, and just,
Well, let Matt reach out to Victor.
Yep.
And tomorrow and see what's going on. And listen, I think most of us are pretty settled in now with the fall, other than sports and family stuff, so we can always add meetings, you know, the more the merrier, right?
No, I appreciate you explaining, and Matt as well, explaining the scenario, how this transpired. So for me, that does make sense. The way that this, it's not just we decided all of a sudden to just stop doing this.
No,
I
right,
understand
right.
the basis and foundation on this, so I agree with that, but
Yeah.
just,
I'm not trying to circumvent anything.
Oh, yeah, I know.
think that this meeting is the same every year, just different numbers.
yeah.
That's all it is. It's nothing new. That's where I'm coming from. It's nothing new. It's the same presentation. You know, Victor does the commercial, the residential, the average home value. I could do it myself. And then and he has the rates and the implications of the rates and the senior check. So anyway, we're deliberating too much here. So let's reach out to Victor. I am open to adding another quick meeting to give the residents a preview. And then the 29th is the 29th. Because I really don't want to kick this to November. I'd rather have it before, so. Any other future agenda items? I'd like to get an update, Matt, maybe not an agenda item, just like what did we ever do an environmental on Station 1? Wasn't that supposed to be done like over a year ago?
Station 1 at RMLD?
Yeah, I thought we had some environmental work done there.
Oh, we did Lowell one.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm not sure what the result, I'll have to double check with RMLD, and I'm not sure what the results
That was over a year ago.
Was it that long?
That was something that was supposed, Gene was still here.
Okay.
We were supposed to get at least a level 1.
Okay.
We did. I don't remember the results.
I can check.
The building just sits there. Just an update, please.
Okay.
On that.
Yep.
And I would instruct Tom Milichewski or the facilities, whoever is like sharpen the pencil and see what, you know, maybe we do half a floor.
Yeah.
Man.
Which half?
I would not be in support of doing half a floor.
Just an idea. All right, I think we have an executive session. I don't know if Avery is,
Oh, yeah.
I need a motion.
Hold on.
What time is the executive session?
10.
Let's see if she's available.
10 of 6.
Yeah, I know, I keep
It's not
on
working.
looking at
They were
that.
trying to fix
Let
it
me
earlier.
see.
Back to the future, Mark.
It's right twice a day.
Yeah. All right. How about those Red Sox, huh? I'm gonna make it. Just FYI.
Do you want a motion to move us to exec session? And we'll wait?
I have it, but I
We need-
think
we
he was
need
checking
every-
every.
Yeah, I was checking with Avery, I mean, she was gonna be on a few minutes early. Wasn't sure when we were gonna end. Let's see. I just texted her.
My goal is to be done by 10. I might get lucky.
We could probably have a discussion until she gets on.
About executive session? No.
Yes.
We could just take a 5-minute recess. And then move regardless.
Well, I think
Or move anyway.
we can go to executive session. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't need everyone for
You
that.
can go as long as you include her in the motion.
Yeah, let's do that. Is it just Ivrea or anyone else?
It was, well, I
Town
don't
council.
know that it's
Chief
Chief Clark
Clark
was,
as
I had him
well.
listed, I'm not sure if he was coming or not, but, he's not, I mean, he had a long night, so, I don't blame him.
Because we can start working on minutes. We can start working on approving executive session minutes.
Yes, we could.
Okay.
All right, folks, thanks for coming.
Take the motion.
Yep. Move to enter into executive session under purpose 3 for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to potential litigation pertaining to unpaid police detail invoices and involving B&E Services and Halen Development, and strategy with respect to the Town of Reading versus Delphi Construction, Inc., and the Town of Reading versus Champlain Excavating, Inc., because the chair finds that an open session may have a detrimental effect on the board's litigating position of the board, and to invite into the executive session Town Council Ivrea Freed, Town Manager Matt Cornelis, and Executive Assistant Caitlin Nocella, Chief Clark, and not to return to open session.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Roll call vote.
Yes.
Roll call.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
I beat Mark Schwartz. On the record.
Good for you.
On the record, the teacher has become, the students become the teacher.
Mark has his hand up. Very good, Chris. Very good. You get a gold star on your forehead. Chris?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Carlo, yes. We are now